The castle doors have been forcefully breached by a man, and that man is none other than So-Hyen. A few hours ago, So-Hyen entered the abyss to start floor 20. He offers the Guardian a lot of points, like 100,000 points. The Guardian chuckles in disbelief, labeling So-Hyen as a monster, as it typically takes people years to accumulate such a vast number of points. After accepting the points, the Guardian foretells that despite challenging the floor at level 10, So-Hyen is unlikely to meet his demise. In fact, he may very well become the one who inflicts death upon others. However, if possible, the Guardian advises So-Hyen to refrain from taking lives, urging him to prioritize other solutions. Nevertheless, in every situation, So-Hyen should do whatever is necessary. After hearing these confusing pieces of advices, as So-Hyen enters the 20th trial, he is now falling back first along a tall cliff. After stabilizing himself, he approaches the edge of the cliff, where he can see a castle. The system's voice appears and it says,
20th floor trial will now begin. The castle of Kingdom Grandlam is a steel wall fortress with thousands of soldiers guarding it, within the given timeline of a month. Collapse the castle, but keep in mind, they are not necessarily your enemies. During the trial, you may be able to recruit allies, find out the secret of the castle and stay alive.
So-Hyen thinks the goal is not as simple as just defeating everyone in the castle since they are not necessarily the enemies. But how will he conquer the castle in a month without fighting? At night, So-Hyen camps outside and studies the castle's layout. As expected, the walls are thick and soldiers are numerous. Many can even use mana, which makes them equal to a C-rank Awakener at the least. So-Hyen is disadvantaged both in terms of numbers and intel. So-Hyen needs to uncover the mystery of the castle, but he sees no way of doing that right now. Soon, So-Hyen realizes he needs to take action, so he stops thinking and walks towards the castle gate. Guards order him to identify himself, but So-Hyen simply ignores them and jumps directly at the gates, and in a powerful single attack, he levels the gates to the ground, while the soldiers are in awe of his overwhelming power. So-Hyen then takes a moment to appreciate the craftsmanship of his new sword. Since his sword Gram is almost alive, So-Hyen easily manipulates the sword's sharpness on command. He can even make it blunt if he wishes to spare someone. With the burden of not taking the lives of the soldiers lifted from his shoulders, So-Hyen attacks with no hesitation, knocking down the soldiers, while not injuring them in the slightest. Suddenly, the archers on the castle wall start shooting arrows at So-Hyen, but he intercepts them in midair, slicing through them easily. Seeing this, everybody is surprised, but So-Hyen doesn't waste even a moment and he leaps directly in front of the commander of archers. So-Hyen pushes him off the edge, and he falls on the wooden equipment down below. Seeing this, the main commander, Commander Maxman, shows up and orders his soldiers to back off. He wants to handle So-Hyen by himself. Soldiers are touched by his sentiments, but they refuse to follow his orders and they try to drag him inside because if the commander falls, the castle will fall soon after. Seeing this, So-Hyen heads directly to Maxman, but in midair, a soldier manages to grab his ankle with a roped arrow. But So-Hyen is just too powerful. He tugs the rope in his direction, and the guy holding the rope flies towards him. But not to cause any loss of life, So-Hyen catches the guy and goes on his ways, leaping on the walls like a ninja. And just as he approaches Maxman, he throws away the soldier and cuts off the rope on his ankle. So-Hyen then gets ready as he winds up his sword and comes down with full force directly at Maxman, while Maxman is also prepared to parry him. Their swords clash with an incredible amount of force, so much so that all the soldiers get blown away by just the shock wave. They both then stand, facing each other with mutual respect for each other's strengths. Maxman again orders his troops to pull back and keep a look outside while he handles So-Hyen. Maxman also mentions that So-Hyen is not a spy from the Odram Kingdom. He seems like an unknown guy acting independently. So-Hyen is impressed with Maxman's deduction skills, his judgment is spot on, and his strength is about the same as an A-rank Awakener. So-Hyen thinks Maxman is truly a befitting person to be a commander. The soldiers also follow Maxman's judgment and they pull back, knowing that 20 years ago, the same Maxman led them to victory in their last war with Odram Kingdom. Seeing his charisma, So-Hyen correctly figures out that Maxman is some kind of a hero figure. So-Hyen empathizes with Maxman because the same people who call him a hero also crush him with their hopes and expectations. It's the same as what happened to So-Hyen in his previous life, so he truly understands Maxman on a different level. Seeing this, So-Hyen attempts to talk, apologizing for destroying the gates, and saying he wants to discuss something urgent. Maxman silences him, saying this kingdom is in a state of war, and he can't endanger his men by letting a stranger inside. Calm and collected, So-Hyen instantly figures out how to solve this problem. He runs directly at Maxman, and as their swords are in contact, Sohyan pulls out the rope he got from the arrow from before and ties Maxman's hand. Sohyan then activates the transformation skill, in which now holds an evolved form of Cyclops strength. He raises his hand up in the air, realizing that the solution to seizing a castle with no bloodshed is to force the most powerful guy in charge to comply. With this, Sohyan will find the secret of this castle. He crashes his fist down at the wall and everything it hits gets destroyed. Soldiers are terrified as to what happened with their commander. They start looking around the castle since both Sohyan and Maxman just disappeared. We then move to what looks like the inside of the castle, where a black portal opens up, and coming out of it are Maxman and Sohyan. This is Sohyan's new skill called Shadow Assimilation. He got from the Floor 15 special items shop. This skill is used by assassin types. It may take a long time to cast and consume a lot of mana, but it is perfect for stealth. Moving on, Sohyan realizes this place is off. It has the masked attaché's smell all over it. Quickly, Sohyan unties Maxman and asks him if he is willing to listen now. Maxman shouts, "If you came in peace, then why did you attack my soldiers?" Sohyan says he had no choice since nobody was willing to let him in or talk to him. And he couldn't wait because he is in a hurry, because in this castle problems will soon start to appear. Maxman asks, will there be an invasion by the Odram kingdom soon? Sohyan says this war is nothing compared to what's about to come. He then asks if Maxman has seen something suspicious happened around this castle. This makes Maxman reflect on his conversation with the attaché, but he refuses to give Sohyan even a hint. Sohyan is an unknown guy. How can Maxman know if Sohyan is not an enemy spy? But Sohyan replies, why would he attack head-on if he was a spy? And if he wanted, he could conquer this whole castle all alone. And it seems like Maxman doesn't even doubt his claim. He has witnessed Sohyan's power firsthand. Maxman takes a pause and tells Sohyan to come with him. He takes Sohyan to the huge basement of the castle. This place was once a prison with a dark history. Many people lost their lives here due to the lingering energy of death. Eventually, the prison was closed down, and the prisoners were moved elsewhere. Maxman asks Sohyan to reveal the problem that is supposed to be bigger than this war. Sohyan says, you will know soon enough, as a stench of death is all over this place. It's a smell that you can't erase. When suddenly, someone comes from behind, and it's the masked attaché. He asks Commander Maxwell what on earth he is doing here in the middle of a battle. Why the hell is he here with the intruder who attacked them? Sohyan raises a question to the attaché. How did you know we were here? And your timing of coming to this exact place to find them is a little too perfect. Perhaps you were following us from behind all this time. Attaché is speechless. He ignores Sohyan and asks Maxman if he is under the control of this guy. If not, then why is he standing with the enemy? But before he could complete his sentence, Sohyan draws his sword and immediately cuts to the attaché before he could even react. And Maxman stands there astounded by what has happened. The attaché's body falls to the ground. Maxman is about to draw his sword to take revenge, when Sohyan mentions that there was never an attaché sent by the king to supervise them. And in a shocking reveal, the attaché gets up. He turns out to be a skeleton behind a mask. More specifically, he is actually a lich, radiating with undead energy, with little horns on his head, and a jewel on his forehead. Just with the smell in the castle, Sohyan could tell Lich was pulling the strings here. What's more, this is not the same as the half-Lich dungeon boss from before. This is actually a fully fledged Lich. It's on a totally different level compared to the half-one from Gwangju. All of this confuses Maxman, so he asks if he was sent by the king, or if he was always a spy from an enemy kingdom. Meanwhile, Sohyan immediately draws his swords, understanding what's about to happen. The Lich needs to get rid of both of them, now that his real identity is exposed. The Lich fires an attack spell of dark magic, but Sohyan steps forward and dispels it with his sword. Both Maxman and Lich are shocked by this. Even Sohyan is impressed that his sword Gram has insane magic resistance, so this sword won't break like the last one. Although Sohyan's sword may be fine, he has no means of actually dealing any real damage to the Lich. Since it's a darkness-type monster, the Lich can only get damage from someone with a holy attribute. And since there is no way to do any real damage, all Sohyan can do right now is try to suppress it with his flames. Activating his flaming sword, Sohyan jumps in the air and launches a powerful attack. But the Lich easily dodges by flying up in the air. Sohyan then launches the long-range flame attack, but the Lich intercepts it midway with his own magic, and the attacks cancel out each other. Sohyan is shocked. This Lich is much stronger than he thought. He can keep the Lich busy for now, but without a holy attribute he will only be exhausting his mana to buy time. What's more, a long drawn-out battle of mana is a really bad idea against a Lich. So Hyan uses his only option and starts going directly for the jewel in the Lich's forehead. The Lich easily dodges So Hyan's attack, but So Hyan stabilizes himself on a wall and starts throwing long-range flame attacks. But that too is useless. The Lich counterattacks with his own spell, but using the dust from the blast as a smoke screen, So Hyan disappears and sneaks up from behind, successfully landing a blow. And as the Lich comes plummeting to the ground, So Hyan runs to the Lich's blind spot and moves into attack. As he gets closer, suddenly, the Lich exudes an immense amount of dark energy from his back. This was a trick to lure So Hyan. The Lich purposely got hit to bait So Hyan, but So Hyan's quick reflexes saved him this time. They exchange a few more blows when the Lich finally proclaims, "Playtime is over." And immediately, a darkness emerges from behind the cell, and it aims directly at Maxman. But So Hyan saves him just in time. A Lich shouldn't be able to manipulate darkness from this far away. But then the realization hits So Hyan. This place is filled with the energy of the dead. It is a cursed place as it is filled with darkness, death, and echoes of suffering prisoners. This place is a haven for a Lich. Suddenly a voice comes from the dark cell behind them, commending So Hyan for noticing all that. Shockingly, it seems like a portal has opened, and 2 more Liches have shown up from the cell. Now Maxman and So Hyan will be facing 3 full Liches in total. This battle has turned from an impossible situation to an even more impossible situation for our 2 heroes. The Red Lich says to the other Lich, "You have already dragged this for too long. Stop playing around and end these small fries." While the Black Lich timidly says, "You should have easily killed them from behind when they were coming down the stairs." Seeing that Maxman has no idea what's going on, So Hyan explains the situation. Turns out, there is an entity known as the Lich King. He is also the king of the dead realm. And one way to summon the Lich King is with a grand ritual with tons of human sacrifice. And for that, this castle is perfect for them, with thousands of soldiers confined to a very limited area. Red and Black Liches are pretty impressed with So Hyan's knowledge, while the purple one confirms that it's true. Some time ago, the 3 Liches found this castle to be perfect for their plans, so they went ahead and killed the king who ruled this castle. They then controlled the king's corpse with their death magic to make themselves in charge of this castle. Hearing all this angers Maxman to no bounds, but So Hyan stops him from acting rashly, while the Lich continues revealing their evil plans. For the ritual, they needed to build the altar of sacrifice, and making the altar should have taken them at least 1 more month. But they managed to complete it sooner than expected. And as soon as they get rid of So Hyan and Maxman, they will begin with the summoning ritual for the Lich King. As So Hyan is assessing how to handle the situation, the Lich casts a spell, and weird lines start appearing around the heroes. When the realization comes to So Hyan that this is the Dark Guidance skill, a skill that is only accessible to the Liches of the highest rank, this spell controls even the laws of physics and crumbles the space itself. Seeing this, So Hyan figures these Liches are of a special class. They are called Apostle class Liches, and they are too overpowered. As the Liches walk away, they bid the heroes the last farewell. They are helpless. Even So Hyan can do nothing against this spell, and they are about to die. When unexpectedly, the spell suddenly breaks apart. Turns out Maxman has easily broken it. The Liches bicker among themselves, saying this Maxman guy must have a holy sword or something. But Maxman corrects them that his sword is not holy. Instead, Maxman himself actually happens to be a holy knight. Since a holy knight is quite a troublesome opponent for a Lich, the Red Lich steps forward to get rid of him immediately, while Purple One orders the Black Lich to use the undead and make sure that not even a single human escapes from the castle. Maxman runs towards the Purple Lich to attack him, but suddenly the Red Lich appears above him and throws a powerful dark magic arrow directly at Maxman. But just in time, So Hyan calls upon his divine phoenix, and the phoenix catches the arrow with its beak and dispels it. The Red Lich gets surprised by the power of So Hyan's familiar. He is unable to handle it. But shortly after that, the phoenix turns its attention to the Black Lich and he runs as the bird chases him all the way, keeping both Liches busy. Meanwhile, Maxman is hurting. He has failed his king. But So Hyan reaches out and tells him that together we can get out of this situation. He adds, "I know you are the commander, but will you let me lead you in this battle, just this once?" While the Phoenix is keeping the Liches at bay, So Hyan tells Maxman about some kind of a secret plan. But after hearing it, Maxman is having a hard time leaving So Hyan to handle the Liches all alone. They are just too powerful, especially since this place is haven for them to fight. But So Hyan reminds him of their plan. He asks Maxman about what he values more, the castle or the lives of his soldiers. Hearing this, Maxman runs to his soldiers, while Sohyan ponders about the advice the gatekeeper gave him, which was doing what you have to do. Sohyan leaps in the air and launches an attack with his whole might. But what's this? The Lich stands completely fine. They wonder what Sohyan just did. And in anime style, just when Sohyan finally sheaths his blade, a huge cut appears on a castle wall, and the whole wall collapses. Liches are baffled by this action of Sohyan, but that's just the beginning. More cracks appear, and eventually the whole building gets leveled to the ground. The Liches are unhurt thanks to their teleportation. But the purple Lich is absolutely furious with Sohyan's actions. He orders the black Lich to immediately start summoning the undead. But when he turns to the red Lich to give him an order, the Phoenix launches an attack on the red Lich. And just as the red Lich manages to dodge the Phoenix's attack, Sohyan comes from behind and cuts the red Lich in half along with its stone. One Lich down, 2 more to go. Purple is absolutely furious at losing his comrade. How did Sohyan manage to execute the Lich so easily? To take revenge, the purple Lich moves like black lightning and attacks Sohyan. Sohyan manages to parry it, but as Sohyan is in mid-air unable to change directions, Purple Lich activates his trump card, the Dark Guidance skill, at the perfect time. The spell is complete, but just in time Sohyan calls upon the Phoenix, and it successfully manages to destroy the spell. Sohyan has survived, but he is totally exhausted, and the Lich easily notices this. The Lich says that he is well aware that the Phoenix summoning is eating away at Sohyan's mana like crazy. So he offers the cliché villain line. He says that if Sohyan gives up now, he might even give him a painless death. Hearing this, Sohyan smiles. He confirms that it's in fact true that it's about time that he runs out of mana, but now he can defeat the Lich with just his sword. In a 9000 IQ move, it's revealed that earlier Sohyan had actually used his transformation skill on his ally instead of some boss monster. Using the skill, he copied the divine attribute from Maxman and obtained the Holy Blade. The real fight has just begun. Meanwhile, the Black Lich is floating just above soldiers' heads. He then activates a wide-range spell, and from beneath the ground, corpses begin to emerge. The soldiers are terrified. Soldiers manage to avoid them, but the summoned undead monster starts climbing the wall, where Maxman has just reunited with his soldiers. His soldiers are happy he is back, and they say they would never let their commander fight alone like last time. And they prepare to fight the undead monster coming their way. Meanwhile, the battle between Purple Lich and Sohyan is getting more intense by the minute. They are clashing like superhumans across the battlefield with incredible speed. Luckily, now that Sohyan is equipped with holy attributes, the Lich is actually on the back foot now. After doing some maneuvering, Sohyan manages to catch him off guard and he lands a powerful hit on the Lich's skull. The Lich crashes down. He is hurt, his whole face cracked, but his arrogance has gone nowhere. He thinks, how can he, the great mighty Lich, the leader among even the apostle-class Liches, is about to be defeated by a mere human. Sohyan doesn't give him a single second to try something and he immediately launches another attack, finally managing to cut through the crystal on its forehead. But for some reason, the Lich still holds on to his life, even without the crystal. Sohyan thinks that this Lich is really something else. Sohyan tells him to stop wasting time and just disappear already, but the Lich replies, it's actually you who is the one wasting time with his futile resistance. Your demise is inevitable, as countless apostle-class Liches are working day and night to revive the Lich King. And when their king comes to this world, you won't be able to put a scratch on him, even if you have 10 lives. Sohyan sighs and walks towards the Lich, and he deals a finishing blow saying that it doesn't matter even if you revive him. Your king will die by my hands anyway. These are just not empty words. In Sohyan's past life as Kim Sung, the Lich King did show up in an outbreak near the end of the world. And as the hero of his time, our main character was the one who defeated the Lich King, but only after a massive battle that took countless lives. Meanwhile, Maxman and his soldiers are fighting the Black Lich and his undead minions. The Lich mocks Maxman for his futile attacks, taunting him for his inability to reach him. However, the Lich's demeanor suddenly changes as he senses something amiss. He realizes that the Purple Lich has been slain. The news shatters him, causing him to scream in agony. Lost in his anguish, the Lich repeatedly utters the words, "My friend was killed. My boss was killed." As his mind unravels, consumed by emotion, the Lich lets out a scream that triggers a wide area spell, engulfing the entire castle. The soldiers begin to suffocate, and Maxman stands helplessly, unable to save them. With astonishing speed, Sohyan swiftly moves past them, charging straight at the Lich before its spell does any more damage. Sohyan delivers a powerful punch to the Lich's face, and the Lich comes crashing down on the ground. As a result, the spell dissipates and the soldiers regain their breath. So Hyan reveals that this Lich was using the key absorption technique, and if this wasn't stopped immediately, the spell would have become stronger and stronger as more people died, feeding the spell, eventually making it impossible to stop. Lich gets up, still saying he will avenge his friend's death. Suddenly a staff comes out the Lich's mouth. This Lich is definitely not done yet with his revenge. Using the staff he reactivates the key absorption technique from before, but when Sohyan comes to stop him this time, he is faced with an invisible barrier that he is unable to power through. Sohyan is worried the soldiers will start dying soon, and the technique will get progressively stronger and more difficult to stop. When out of nowhere, Maxman tells Sohyan not to worry. It's his job to protect his soldiers, while Sohyan should only focus on the Lich. Maxman then stabs the sword into the ground and a blue barrier begins to envelop the whole castle. The effects of the Lich's spell have disappeared, and the soldiers are good again. This is Maxman's greatest skill, only used by the Holy Knights, a barrier that protects against all dark magic effects, but it comes at a steep cost of the Holy Knight's lifespan. And the fight continues once again. Sohyan sees all the soldiers giving their best against the undead. It's all up to him to get rid of this final Lich. Seeing the spell fail, the Lich gets aggressive, and he manages to land a hit on Sohyan, saying how can you mere little bugs that were supposed to be used only as sacrifices dared to kill his Lich friends. Hearing this, Sohyan gets angry, and he grabs the Lich's staff and sets him on fire. Sohyan tells the Lich to remember the feeling of losing someone while you burn in these flames. How dare a monster that was about to kill thousands of men dare to talk about loss? He has no sympathy for a monster that was perfectly fine with snatching a husband, a brother, or a son from countless other people. Sohyan then finally deals the finishing blow to the Lich, and moments later the monsters it summoned also start to disappear as well. Seeing they have finally succeeded, Maxman lies down to take a breath, and Sohyan also sits down to finally rest as his job here is done. And we will end it here for now. Please drop a like and subscribe. I really get motivated to work hard with support from you guys. Suggest me any other series that would be good to cover in parallel to this one. I am here to make what you guys want.